Welcome to the Newsroom with Rod. I'm Rod, and today I'm going to be telling you about an audio plugin that offers to mix your audio for you. Coming up. Let's get real. Audio. Now, me personally, I have made short films, feature films, YouTube videos, web series, or even if you're out there filming this awesome documentary, good sounding and properly mixed audio are vital to your project. So you can have this great quality video, you have strong acting performances, you have professional editing, but if it is not properly mixed, it can really be the difference between your project getting into a film festival and not getting into a film festival. So to properly mix your audio, you may be shifting through hundreds, if not thousands of YouTube videos online, many which are practical, but you do have to really watch out because there are some that give you the quick free lesson and then they kind of bait you into buying like their class or their courses. Others are simply outdated. On top of that, if you're not using professional sound monitors or you're using cheap PC speakers, or even worse, if you're trying to actually mix your video through like cheap kind of headphones, by the time you deliver that project and it's being listened to on various platforms, it may not sound the way you expected. Now, what if there was an easier way? What if there was a way that artificial intelligence can actually aid you in mixing your audio? Well, we've discovered a pretty amazing plugin called Alex Audio Butler. Now, I'm going to read you a little bit about what they state on their website. It states that Alex Audio Butler automatically finds the best settings for volume, compression, and ducking by listening to your source material. Now, full on disclosure, Alex Audio Butler were kind enough to send me this plugin for DaVinci Resolve, their plugin suite. So this is going to be a little bit more of a tutorial rather than a review. With that said, I will be sharing my unbiased, real opinions about this plugin. So let's go ahead and jump right into DaVinci Resolve, and I'm actually going to show you a little bit how to actually use the plugin. The power of one, divined by many. A collective experience through the eyes of the individual. Striving for achievement. So I'm going to go ahead and stop it right there. You can clearly hear that the audio is, the narration's too low, the music's too high, the sound effects are in a bit of a weird spot. So we're going to get into Alex Audio Butler to kind of help us to kind of address those issues. So here we are. Now I'm in Fairlight of the portion of the DaVinci Resolve, and if you notice, I've kind of have labeled my tracks. So let me get out of there real quick. So I have voice, music, sound effects 1 and 2. I really highly recommend that you label your tracks as just kind of a best practice. So once it's installed, and it's really easy to install, you want to go down here to uncategorized. If I can get in there, there we go. And you can see the plugins right here. So I'm going to use this one for voice, and then it kind of adds it to that track, as you could see. Once you hover over the options, so this little dialog box kind of pops up, and then you can hover over these options, and it gives you kind of a brief explanation on what those options can do. So under this auto volume, we have constant source and variant sources. So if you were using something like a boom mic and a lavalier, or if you were just using like a microphone, one particular source, and you would use constant source. Under compression, we have natural, general, and max. And again, you can kind of hover over these, and it will give you kind of a brief explanation on those options. And then so since I have a constant source for the narration, I'm going to go ahead and choose that. And then you just simply kind of X out of it. So because it's like added to that track. So I'm going to proceed to doing one for music. So again, uncategorized, if I can kind of get my mouse to cooperate with me, there we go. Uncategorized, and we're going to add the music one. And then here you have target volume and then auto ducking. So you can change the level of the music. So if you want it a little bit louder, you want it a little bit quieter. And then you have different like auto ducking options here, subtle, medium, and then contrasting. For this example, I went ahead and just choose like the medium, and then it looks like I'm going to choose the number 3 here. And then, so again, you could change this. You can even turn it off. So you have a couple of different options here. And again, it gives you kind of a brief explanation. I'm going to exit out of there. And again, it adds it. This one's interesting. So for sound effects, it's defaulted to off. So I think this is really important to make note of because sound effects can be a little bit tricky. So this is kind of defaulted to off, and you may have to kind of finesse your own sound effects. But again, there are options in here. So if you want a subtle kind of auto ducking, if you want it to be more obvious, for this particular purpose, I'm actually going to leave it off. And again, you have the different options that you can look at if you do want to choose these. And don't be afraid to kind of play around with it a little bit. So once you have your kind of parameters in there, what I would suggest is kind of play through it about 3 or 4 different times to kind of let the Alex Audio Butler kind of analyze it. But don't be afraid to mess with the options. So if something's not quite sounding right, you know, if the music's a little off, if your narration's a little too low or a little too high, just simply go back into those options and just change them and then kind of run it back through a couple of times, and then it kind of analyzes it. But don't be afraid to kind of mess with the options. So we're going to go ahead and see what the full kind of video sounds like with the Alex Audio Butler. And this is just kind of a rough take, but I want you guys to hear the difference on this. The power of one, defined by many. A collective experience through the eyes of the individual. Striving for achievement, love, exploration, togetherness. Pushing the horizons to the limits. Untethered, boundless, and increasingly infinite. Now, that was pretty amazing, you guys. I mean, it really did a really good job. I currently have a couple of professional sound monitors that are actually on back order. So I'm actually, those cheap PC speakers I was kind of telling you about, I'm actually using that as like my reference. And I listened to this video through a couple of different sources, including on a big HD TV, and it actually sounded really good. Also through like a sound bar. And I was just really impressed with how it mixed the audio. I'm not a professional mixer. I have learned a lot more about how to mix audio, but it really did, you know, it kind of outdid my expectations. And one quick little update. So I just got some information as I was actually in the process of editing this video from Alex Audio Butler that there was just a new update to DaVinci Resolve 17 beta. There is some issues with it rendering. So now I actually edited this with DaVinci Resolve 17. I ended up capturing some of the audio that you're hearing. So I kind of found like a roundabout way because I actually captured my screen, which also captured the audio. But again, this was also done on my capture card. So it was kind of a roundabout way to do the video. So kind of keep that in mind. There is a workaround for it that they have. So if you do have DaVinci Resolve and you have recently upgraded to 17 beta, go ahead and contact the folks over at Alex Audio Butler. They do have a workaround for it right now. And they have also contacted Blackmagic directly to see if they can address this issue in their next beta update. So I just wanted to guys give you, again, full disclosure, you know, keep you up to date what's going on with this plugin. I think it's an absolute fantastic plugin, but I do want to make sure you guys are aware of that. And I'm going to go ahead and cut back to the video. But again, keep creating out there, you guys. But I did want to give you that quick update. You know, you guys, if you're, you know, kind of a one-man band like me, or you're, you know, you're doing YouTube videos, you're doing shorts, even for a feature, just make sure that your audio tracks are organized. That's like really the biggest thing that you really need to do. You need to organize your tracks. If I were to say that there's a couple cons to this, it's not going to do everything for you. So if you have kind of poor recorded audio, something that's coming straight out of the camera, this is not necessarily going to fix that issue. It can mix it for you, but it's not necessarily going to like enhance poorly recorded audio. The other little tidbit that I have, something to consider at least, is that currently at the time of this recording this video, it's currently not available for Final Cut Pro X. I personally used to use Final Cut Pro X before I switched over to DaVinci Resolve. So I would say that's probably the other, you know, kind of consideration that you want to look into. Currently, this is available for Adobe programs and DaVinci Resolve. Hopefully, you know, at some point they will be coming up with a Final Cut Pro X version of this plugin, because I think that would be really awesome. In the link in the description below, I have linked this plugin so you don't have to go searching for it. I've also linked a little 15% off code for you. That may or may not work by the time you get to this video. So if it's, several years now and you're kind of looking at this, it may or may not work, but it's worth a shot. So that's it for this tutorial. That's it. And, come back next time. Smash that subscribe button, guys. Click on the little bell notifications. We hope to see you next time, and keep creating.